shopgear.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Better Live Than Dead podcast.
And with that, we welcome you to episode 138 of the Better Live Than Dead podcast, powered by the Gear Radio Network.
138.
I'm Ryan Wolfe.
Has a ring to it.
It does have a good ring to it. I'm Ryan Wolfe at Wolfe BLTD. Joining me on the IndyCar Media Hotline, Mr. Perez at MRLG Perez. How you doing today?
I'm awesome. Just got done working out. Now we're going to be talking some sports. Got a cigar in my hand. Yeah, I got no complaints.
We're going to be talking sports. We're going to be talking travel. We're going to be talking about Miami. I just got back on a quick trip, 3-day trip, up and or down and back. It was real nice. It was a little tough coming back to 64-degree weather after I woke up this morning. It was 75 at 6 a.m. Yesterday, the temperature yesterday in Miami in Coral Springs hit 90. So it was beautiful yesterday. And I missed that weather. Yeah, I missed that weather a lot. But you know what? Before we get started on talking about Miami, talking about Florida, because I know, Lewis, you and I can go back and forth for hours on that stuff. I want to talk about, Major League Baseball. I want to talk about the award season. I mean, it's only May 18th as of a podcast recording time here, but we've got some interesting things going on in Major League Baseball right now. First off, in the Cy Young, I would say race, the Cy Young race right now, which again, no pitcher has started more than 11 games this season, it appears. So we're still relatively young in the process, but your three leaders, I would say four leaders in the clubhouse right now. We have, let me get this popped up here. Domingo Germán from the New York Yankees. He's 8-1 with a 2.50 ERA in 8 starts, 9 appearances. Justin Verlander, defying father time, 7-1 with a 2.38 ERA in 10 starts. And then two surprising names. First off, Tyler Glasnow from the Tampa Bay, I almost said Tampa Bay Lightning, but from the Tampa Bay Rays, 6-1 with a 1.86 ERA in 8 starts. I believe he's on the 10-day disabled list right now, and or the injured list, I apologize. And then Jose Berrios, we know him as the gear guy, 6-2 with a 3.05 ERA and 9 starts. So far out of the gate, Lewis, 3, I would say, surprising names in the American League dominating, and then obviously old faithful Justin Verlander still mowing them down, doing work at age 36 down in Houston.
He's almost ageless. It's ridiculous how good he is this late in the game. You don't see very many people his age still able to control the mound the way he does and just fanning batters. I mean, just people can't touch him right now. It's good to see. It's good for the game. It's fun. As far as the other names on your list, it's been interesting to watch. I'll be honest with you. Germán from the Yankees, I wasn't sure he was going to be as good as he's been this year. But he's been pitching great for a young arm. It's been fun to watch. And let's be honest, with all the injuries the Yankees have had, I thought they were going to be much worse than they are right now. So he's a shining light in a team that's doing okay for what they're playing with. And the other two guys, they are kind of surprising, but it's fun to watch.
It always is, especially with the Twins. I know with Jose Berrios, we always try to watch him as much as we can. And I know I text John back and forth about him whenever I see a start, but he has been a revelation for a very good young Twins team that we'll talk about here in just a few minutes. But on the topic of Verlander, if he continues strong and can mirror last season's production in terms of strikeouts. Last season, he had 290 strikeouts and 214 innings. If he can do that again this year, he's already at 77. He's about 217 strikeouts away from 3,000. So he is 211 wins, but if he gets 300 strikeouts or 3,000 strikeouts, Hall of Famer. I think he already is a Hall of Famer, but you want to hit those fancy numbers. So Justin Verlander, again, the ageless wonder, as you have said. I want to move over to the National League quick now, too. Looking at that list, we also have another one of those ageless wonders. We have, first off, from the Atlanta Braves, we have Max Fried, I believe is how you say his name. I'm real bad with the names. You guys know that. You guys know who I'm talking about, though. 6-2 with a 2.86 ERA. The next ageless wonder, tied with 6 wins. Zach Greinke, Arizona, 6-1 with a 2.78 ERA. And then looking over at Milwaukee with how successful they've been, no surprise that they have a couple names at the top of the list. First off, Brandon Woodruff, 6-1 with a 3.72 ERA. And then you have Kyle Davies, 5-0 with a 1.54 ERA. And then also, can't forget in Cincinnati, you have Luis Castillo, 5-1 with a 1.90 ERA. The one thing I want to mention about Zach Greinke, 6-1 this year, 193 wins. He, again, one of those ageless wonders for sure. But who in the National League is sticking out to you right now, Lewis?
Currently in the National League, oh man, you know what? I don't. Once again, I'll probably you butcher names. I'm probably gonna butcher this dude's name. Did you mention Hye Jin-Ryu?
Oh no, I didn't. I totally overlooked him because he's injured, so I forgot to grab him and take a look at that.
He's injured, but his ERA was like 1.72 before he went on the injury list. I think he had like 54 Ks.
Yes, 5-1 with a 1.72. He's 54 strikeouts and 52 in a third innings.
Yeah, I mean he's looking good. If he can come back strong, I think he could be a contender. I like Luis Castillo. He's got a 1.90. He's pretty. I like him. I agree with you with Zach Greinke. He's little high in the ERA, but he's still having a great year. I don't know. I like Mayada too. Even though he's got a high ERA, he's been dealing to do it pretty good.
You're talking Kenta Maeda, correct?
Maeda, yeah, him, that guy, right there.
You're close. Hey, you're close enough that I was able to, confirm that one. Hey, speaking of the Dodgers, let's move over to the National League. Let's stay with the National League, I should say, and talk about Cody Bellinger. I mean, we have a handful of candidates over in the National League. Christian Yelich, he's 18 home runs, 40 RBIs, and a 3.36 ERA, 3.36 batting average through first 42 games this season. But when you look at what
if he had a 3.36 ERA, that'd be impressive.
That would be very impressive. What Cody Bellinger is doing at age 23 right now, 156 at bats. He has 16 home runs, 42 RBIs, batting .404 right now. That's 63 hits and 156 at bats. Is this something you think that Cody Bellinger can keep up, or do you think he'll cool down at some point in time and regress back to his career of about 282?
Honestly, you see guys go on these type of hot streaks, and at one point they always regress. So I don't think he's going to be able to keep it up. I think at one point he'll come back down to earth, but his back down to earth is pretty damn good. So he'll still be productive. But he's one of those guys who I think he'll be streaky. I can't imagine he can keep up this type of production.
The one thing that I see here, Lewis, I'm sorry to jump in there really quick. The one thing I'm seeing here, obviously, with his average being up, his on-base percentage is up to 48 or 41. His slugging is up a little over 300 points from last year, and his OPS also much higher. But here's the thing to me that sticks out. His career average is .76 groundouts per ground outs per air outs or versus air outs or however the hell you want to say it. Last season, he was at 0.84. This season, he is at 0.59. So he's putting more balls in the air. And as we've seen over time, the more balls you put in the air, the more likely you are to hit home runs with launch angle and stuff like that. And his launch angle is a little above the 1 point above the major league average, but still something to look at. Excuse me, tired. Something to look at for sure. Keep an eye on that one. See if that starts to go back, regress toward the mean of 0.76 ground outs to air outs, then maybe things come back to normal. But if he keeps that number low like that, there could be some records to fall.
No, absolutely. There will be. I agree with you there.
And like I said with Christian Yelich, he's continuing. He's already an MVP favorite so far, and I don't see why that'll change because he is really good, and so are the Brewers. I mean, I don't really know how much more I need to say about that, but we'll talk about that in a second. I want to move over to the American League right now. George Springer playing out of his mind, 17 home runs, 42 runs batted in, 320 average. You've got the surprising Minnesota Twins, Jorge Polanco, batting .331 with 8 home runs. He's been kind of the plug in that lineup that's helped that team get to where they are now. You look at a guy like Elvis Andrus, who's batting .325. Michael Brantley's batting .324 for the Astros. Again, it's Springer with 17 home runs, Bregman with 14 home runs. For me, Lewis, though, the one guy that I want to talk about real fast is Joey Gallo. He is a career .211 hitter. He's usually fight or flight. Either it's a home run or it's nothing. He has more home runs. I believe he had more home runs last year than singles, than base hits. This year he has 13 home runs, 37 hits, 32 RBIs. He's batting .276. So if I look back at doubles, that's 23. Yeah, so he has more 32, 22. He has 21 base hits and 13 home runs this season. That's interesting.
That's not bad.
He can mash the ball. His launch angle is 19.6 degrees. The average is 12.7. The exit velocity for his balls in play, 97.2 miles an hour. The league average is 89. And his average home run distance is 420 feet. League average is 400 feet. So when the guy gets a hold of one, boy, does he ever get a hold of one.
Yeah, it's going places once he gets a hold of one.
And let me look over here right now as well. There's
his base percentage is really nice too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He definitely. You have to wonder if this is just something that is a blip, or if he's turned the corner. Because if he's turned the corner, that's big for the Rangers.
Yeah, it's going to be huge.
So looking right now, I want to see. Excuse me. AL batting, NL batting, wins above replacements. Someone on Twitter once said it's not a Major League Baseball season until Mike Trout is leading the majors or leading the league in WAR. He leads the American League in WAR with a 3.0. Mike Minor 2.9, Jorge Polanco 2.7 over in the National League. Cody Bellinger, no surprise, 4.5 wins above replacement. Javier Baez and Christian Yelich at 2.8 wins above replacement. Now, Lewis, looking at the standings right now, we've got the New York Yankees leading the American League East by a half a game, with a game right now against the Tampa Bay Rays currently in progress, so that could change. The Boston Red Sox, a surprise at 23 and 21, 4.5 back. In the AL Central, you've got Minnesota at 29 and 15, which is very surprising, but they've been very good. Cleveland at 23 and 20, 5.5 back. Over in the West, Seattle has bottomed out after their hot start, and Houston leads 8.5 games over the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Houston is 30 and 15. Over in the National League, Philadelphia 25 and 19, a game and a half over the Atlanta Braves. Chicago 26 and 16 in the Central. Milwaukee 27-20. They are a game and a half back. Over in the West, the Dodgers are 30-16, 4.5 games over the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, before I get your thoughts on that, Lewis, I will get your thoughts first, and then we'll talk about playoff scenarios in May.
Well, if things keep going the way that they're going, Houston's going to run away with their division. They're just mashing out of their minds right now. Boston, they had a nice streak. I think they won like 10, 11 in a row. So it seems like they might be turning the corner. Their pitching is still kind of suspect. So we'll see what happens there. You know, the as far as I'm concerned, right now, everything's pretty wide open. As far as the top teams are the top teams, and you're going to have good races at the end of this year, but we still have a long time to go before the end of this year. I don't really know if we can talk playoffs right now just because so soon.
Oh, absolutely. But that's my favorite part about you. You do a silly season right now. You talk about what's going on, and then you look back, and then you have fun with it. I mean, right now, like for instance, right now, looking at the Minnesota Twins, 29-15. According to Baseball Reference, they are 77.3% likely to make the postseason, 2.6% likely to win the World Series. For me, it's so much fun to look at that and go, hey, Mitch Garver, their catcher, who I may add, I'm no baseball scout, but I remember seeing him in Rochester, seeing his makeup and just seeing him, the way he was handling himself behind the plate and at the plate. I thought to myself, this kid's going to be a major leaguer. Lo and behold, he is batting .329 this season with 9 home runs, despite the fact he's on the 10-day IL.
Right.
You have got Eddie Rosario batting .258, but he has 13 home runs. You've got Jorge Polanco, 8 home runs with a .331 average. You have Nelson Cruz, who's on the IL right now, but was batting .270 with 7 home runs. One of the bigger revelations this season has been Byron Buxton at age 25. Seems like he's finally turned a corner, batting .274 through 41 games. So really, I mean, Minnesota is one of those teams where they look like they're a lot of fun. They've got a great rotation. Jose Berrios, as we mentioned, he 6-2. Martin Perez, he's 6-1. Jake Odorizzi, 6-2. Michael Pineda, not so good. The bad spoke in the wheel, 3-3 with a 5.55 ERA. And then Kyle Gibson, 4-1 with a 4.26 ERA. So things look to be going well for them, for sure. But like you said, Lewis, it's May 18th. Things can happen. Like you look at, sorry, real quick, and I'll let you jump in there. Like you look at the Angels, for instance, 1.7% to make the postseason, but that can change because there's so much left to be played.
Absolutely. You know, I like the Dodgers are doing. They're 30-16. You know, they got a good record, but they've been there the last couple seasons. Will they be able to turn a corner and actually win it? I doubt it. You know, Philly 25-19, Atlanta 24-21. That should be a good race. See what happens there. The Mets, they're the Mets. They're 20-23, a little better than I would have given them. I like what Houston's doing, like I said. But they currently have a 9-game lead on LA. I mean, the Angels. So, like I said, they're probably going to run away with the West. What I like, though, is, and you know, your team is in the East in the American League. My team's in the East in the American League. But right now, that's the most competitive league in my division, in my opinion, when you have, you know, the Yankees at 27-16, Tampa Bay at 26-16, and Boston making noise at 23-21. That's a nice little race right there. No one's too far ahead. And with, you know, a few months to go, several months to go. It'll be fun to see what happens in that division.
Yeah, I think it'll be like it almost always is that you look at it and with the Rays being good, the Red Sox being the Red Sox, the Yankees being good. I mean, because my thought is this: the Red Sox have not been good. They've been getting better. Chris Sale is coming back around. The starting pitching's coming back around, but until they're eliminated, you can't count them out. I mean, that's just the benefit of the doubt, especially with them being the defending World Series champions.
Right.
So my thought is that if you're looking at the American League right now, with Boston being 23-21 and Cleveland being 23-20, you got to think one of those teams, or maybe even Los Angeles, takes off and can fit that other wild card spot in. Because obviously it'll be New York, it'll be Tampa, it'll be Boston, two of those three. And then, or maybe even three of those three, to be completely honest. I mean, it could be,
right.
You could be looking at, Tampa playing in the first game and then Red Sox, Yankees playing for the wild card berth against Houston. You don't know that. So that's something to certainly look into as well. But, I mean, right now, with it being 4:01 p.m. on May 18th, breaking down the fourth wall, we have the Dodgers, most likely the Dodgers versus the Brewers. Let me see here. Let me run this down in my head here. We have Los Angeles facing either Milwaukee or Atlanta. And then we have Philadelphia facing the Cubs. I think so. I think that's right.
That would be a good series right there, Philly against the Cubs. I would enjoy seeing that. I think Philly, they made all those off-season moves, spent a whole lot of freaking money, and it's currently kind of paying off at 25-19. I mean, will they be able to take that next step? I don't know. We don't know right now. They're definitely a good team. It's going to be fun to watch. I've enjoyed baseball this year quite a bit. I've watched a ton of it. And I've seen some really competitive games, and I've seen some, not really competitive games. But it's been enjoyable. I'm liking this. What's surprising to me is the Kansas City Royals. For a couple of seasons, they were making crazy noise, and they're 15-30. Like, what happened to them?
I think with them, they shot when they say shoot your shot, that's what they did, and it worked out for them. Their window was incredibly small, and they thread the needle and they blew it up.
It worked out. Yeah,
their team is not very impressive. I mean, they've got a lot of underachieving guys. The pitching staff is underachieving as well. They've got starters 4.66, 6.29, 5.77, 5.36, and a 9 ERA. The only guy who was good is injured. Danny Duffy was 2-1 with a 3.97 ERA. So yeah, they're not doing great. The one person to keep an eye on out there though is Ian Kennedy. Remember him from back in the day? He has switched over from starting. He's now in the bullpen. Now in 17 appearances, he's 0-1 with a 3.38 ERA and 2 saves, but he could be valuable for them if they want to deal him at some point in time, because I believe he has 1 year left on his deal, so maybe they'll hold on to him, but could be interesting to see if his name's in play, if he has success as a reliever.
Right. No, I agree. You look at teams like Baltimore, 15-29, that's not surprising to anyone, I think.
Not at all.
Kind of figured, and then you look at a team like, Miami.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we're talking teams that are good and bad, I think Miami, I'm more surprised that Miami is as bad as they are.
They're terrible. And I don't know what's going on with that team.
Speaking of terrible, when I went to Miami a couple days ago, I went to Marlins Stadium to check it out. The stadium is obnoxiously large, but it's in the worst neighborhood because it's like you turn a corner around the stadium and it's just it's so underdeveloped. It's just pretty much It's bad. I would say it's not great. It's very rough. And I can't believe how large the stadium is. Like in person,
it's a large
obnoxious.
It's a large stadium.
Obnoxious. I mean, it was built on the side of the old Orange Bowl. That's pretty cool. Excuse me, but the stadium itself is god awful looking. I mean, it looks like a larger version of Rogers Center from the outside.
Yeah, it's definitely not the best looking stadium out there.
Also, I want to mention here too a couple of milestone that we've failed to mention. Albert Pujols, he grabbed his 2,000th RBI a few days ago. He has 2,005 RBIs for his career. Also, one thing I wanted to ask you before we move over to just chatting real quick. Bryce Harper. He is a 0.5 wins above replacement, batting .222 with 7 home runs and 27 RBIs in 158 at-bats. He was recently booed at home by the Phillies. You know, it's a little early for that one, but what are you thinking about how Bryce Harper's doing in Philadelphia and then how the Philadelphia fans are reacting to Bryce Harper?
Well, first of all, Philadelphia fans will react like that to anybody. Philly fans, Eagles, Phillies, they don't really care. If you're not doing what they expect you to do, they're going to boo you and they're going to treat you harshly. As far as his average of 222, it's low for him. I'm not really surprised because he's extremely streaky and he hasn't really gone on a hot streak yet. He's not living up to the money they're paying him right now. So I'm not surprised. It's going to take a while to get used to a new system. But at the same token, they're paying you the big bucks for a reason, and you need to step up your game.
I think a lot of it has to do with expectations. I'm sure he's putting pressure on himself. I know looking at the stats here, he has, I believe it looks like he leads the league in strikeouts, but also leads the league in walks, which is interesting. His on-base percentage has dropped. His career average is 386. He's 363, but it was 393 last year. Slugging percentage is down. Average is obviously down. Strikeouts look like they're up. He might end up striking out. I mean, last season he struck out 169 times, walked 130 times. So let's say that one works out. I mean, he batted 249 last year and still hit 34 home runs. So
right.
We'll keep an eye on it. But like I said, it just seems like he's struggling to find out what it is that he wants to do here so far in Philadelphia. And like we said, the fans are quick to let him know.
Oh yeah, that's really fair for you. It doesn't matter what sport.
Absolutely. I don't disagree there. But, when you're paying, let me see the amount of money. I forget what it is. Excuse me. When you're paying 27.
Ridiculous.
Well, this year it's 11. It's 11 million. Next year it's 27. But even when you're paying that much money for a guy, what are you doing?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm paying you. What was his contract, dude? $300 and something million, $328.
I can't even remember. It was obnoxious.
If I'm paying you over $300 million, you better produce. That's just the way it is.
Absolutely. Now I want to mention real quick too before we start to wrap the podcast. I want to talk real quick about Florida. I spent Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in Florida. Came home today on Saturday. Traveling, even if you travel in the same time zone, it just takes the life out of you. Like, I am so exhausted today from traveling. It was like
Did you have a layover?
Flight. No, 3-hour flight straight through, nothing crazy. But I'm ready for bed, and it's 4:09 p.m. So,
my wife was. Go ahead.
I just keep yawning. I'm sorry.
all good, bro. My wife was in Utah from Tuesday of last week to Wednesday this current week. She went and visited her father with her older sister. Her sister went with her. She hasn't seen her father or her stepmother since me and her got married 15 years ago.
That's wild.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is. You know, for a while, they didn't even really communicate. But she's made a effort to get back in touch with her father. So it was nice that she went to go see them. While she was in Utah, she was going to run a race called Ragnar, and they put on a series of races across the country throughout the year. Well, where the Ragnar course was about 5 hours away from where her father lived. So they drove 5 hours, got to the site. Tent was already set up because they had some other people that was with them that went first. Bro, they were there 20 minutes and the race got canceled because of weather.
That sucks.
The people went out and trekked the trails, and some of the trails had actually been washed away.
Wow.
And then
it was raining that bad?
Yeah. It was raining so bad they were scared of flash flooding. So they obviously don't want runners to die. And so they canceled the race. And then they ended up having to drive back 5 hours. So they spent like a total of an hour at the site and drove 10 hours completely. Like in one day.
That's rough.
But yeah, so on the way back from Utah, they flew out of Utah at 12:30 in the morning and got into Rochester around 9:20. So you talk about rough traveling. Catching that red eye overnight, that's rough.
Oh my goodness. I remember taking a red eye from Vegas. And it was just hell on earth.
Yeah, man, I took a red eye once from New York to Orlando. That was tough, especially since when I touched down, I had to go handle some stuff. But yeah, the red eyes are tough, man. Red eyes are tough.
Love how you nonchalantly just dropped that.
No, I mean, I've told you the story. It was, you know, so I had to go to a club that I ran security for, and I ended up having to fire people and get some people arrested, and it was just ridiculous.
Well, the good thing is once the podcast is over, I'm going to go get myself a coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. Cheap plug. Because I was going to mow my lawn today when I got home, and I broke my lawnmower, and then I went to go take it apart to fix it, and then my fuel line started leaking really bad, so I just left it in my yard, and I give up with that. But I think I might be.
Yeah, man. Maybe you should just relax tonight, bro. You just got home. You've been traveling all day. Just relax.
I'm thinking about it. I'm getting to the point I'm kind of tired now, yeah.
You know, we'll get done podcasting, crack open a cold one instead of a coffee.
Dude, I've drank so much beer the past few days. I've been sitting by. We went to Miami. I went to like Wynwood Woods or something like that. It was a graffiti park. It was super cool. Saw Marlins Park, like I said. Had a Cuban sandwich for the first time ever. It was so good. Walked a bunch. Went to the beach. Saw a bunch of Art Deco stuff on Ocean Drive. Ended up going to the beach the second day, and it was just not great. The weather was kind of crappy. So I went back to my aunt and uncle's house, hung out by the pool most of the day, swam around the pool, just soaked up the sun. Then Friday we went to the Everglades and went to an alligator park, which got to ride in an airboat, which is pretty cool. Got to see some alligators in the wild, see some animals in the wild. So it was real nice.
Yeah, I saw your videos, man. The airboats are cool.
They were a little scary for me, man. I don't like boats that much, but it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
They are super scary, but they are pretty cool. See, the problem with airboats is you know where you are. And if something happens to that airboat and you end up in the water, you know what's in that water.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's not fun. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So,
but we drove around enough, and we had a lot of fun. Thrifty auto rental. They're kind of trashy. I filled up. The lady didn't tell us on who reads contracts. So, if you want to say, why don't you read your contract? I'll probably block you on Twitter. So she didn't explain to us that. She's like, well, just make sure it's full when you get it back here. So I filled it up at my uncle's, which was like 15, 20 miles away. I get back there and they go,
full.
Well, they go, can we see your thing? And they said, oh, well, you're 5 miles too far. I'm like, well, if you told me I need to do it within 10 miles, I would have done it within 10 miles. So I contacted them and got my cash back for that. But now it's like with the tolls down there is that some of them are cash, some of them they just charge the car.
Right.
And the lady who rented us the car did not really specify. She said, do you want this or not? And we're like, I don't know. Then we just didn't get it. And then next thing you know, it's like, well, you're going to get charged a bunch of money to do this. And I was like, oh, cool. Great. Merry Christmas.
Thanks.
So happy.
Appreciate that. Right. Yeah, man. It's traveling down there is definitely interesting.
Absolutely. People obviously don't know how to drive. They like to honk. They don't use their blinkers.
No, not at all.
They're in a rush to go nowhere. That's always also fun too. But
big time. I mean, Miami is crazy. All the big cities in Florida are crazy. Like I lived in Orlando, and it's a college town, it's a tourist town, and it's still Florida, so there's a bunch of old people. It's just a recipe for disaster, bro.
Absolutely.
My first Christmas there in Orlando, 38 people died on the highways.
Jeez.
Like in a week span.
That's unreal.
Yeah, dude. It was bananas. So I didn't take the highways much down there because people did not know how to drive.
I can see that now for sure, yeah.
Speaking of cheap plug, and because you gave Dunkin' Donuts a cheap plug, I'm going to give Stone Yard Brewing a quick cheap plug, bro.
Yeah, how was that beer?
Listen, so we didn't crack open any of the cans last night, but all the Bill Grazes that have a tap room in it with an Abbott's had it on tap. So me and the wifey and one of her friends went to the Bill Gray's up at Seabreeze to grab us some on tap. Yo, that beer is delicious. I'm pretty sure I got the last 3-4 packs in Rochester. Because every place we called, and Melinda and her friend hit like 9 Wegmanses, and they were all sold out. I called 3 beer spots. They were sold out. I called the 4th beer spot, and they were like, we got some left, but it's going quickly. I was like, listen, I'm on my way to you right now. Can you put 3-4 packs aside for me? And they were like, yeah, we got you. So I was like, bet. So I walked in, and they had just sold the 4th last one. So I grabbed the last 3 that they had because they set them aside for me.
That's awesome.
Beer, bro. Yeah. Yeah, that was good beer. I didn't even, after I tasted the beer on tap, I didn't even mind the money I spent for those 4 packs.
That's good then. That tells me everything I need to know. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the chocolate beers or anything like that for multiple reasons, but
right. No, I understand.
But again, at end of the day, if there's good beers out there, I'd love to hear about it.
A lot of my favorite beers have chocolate in it, man. Ellicottville released this chocolate orange that was similar to this one. It went real quick. That was great. Like, great.
I just drank a bunch of Miller Lite this weekend. I didn't get too fancy because Florida doesn't have really much of a variety that I want to try to dive into when I'm just trying to drink beers and relax in a pool.
I hear you.
But I'm going to fall asleep, so it's not you,
man,
it's me.
Let's wrap it up, bro.
We'll talk soon. I just want to get a podcast out so we get back on the air together and chat. So we appreciate you tuning in. I am Ryan Wolfe at Wolfe BLTD. Lewis is at MRLG Perez. We are Better Live Than Dead.
You're not.
You can listen to this podcast, Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, wherever you get a podcast, you can get this podcast. We will be back very soon, and we'll catch you sometime soon. As I keep repeating myself, have a good day. Bye-bye.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.